And we're going to see who's going to win because, again, you see Shrout on the screen as your 3rd seed. You see Johnson as your 6th seed. So that's really big here because the play first, draw first rule in the elimination rounds is such a big deal. This is the reason when I was actually playing in Seattle, the last tournament I got to play in, I actually played out the last round instead of just double drawing in because it was so important to be playing first in the top 8 all the way throughout. And you see Shrout here being on the play against a red deck. It's a pretty big deal, especially when he doesn't have a 1-drop to start.
Yeah, and Adam leads off with his 1-drop, Stromkirk Noble. Now Shrout does have a play. He has a 1-drop. He had to play it on turn 2 because he has the Buddy Land draw.
Yeah, he's got another Sun Petal Grove and a Gavany Township in his hand, so he does have the Buddy Land draw. And here is Madcap skills on the Noble, so that is 4 damage right to the face.
And that Avacyn's Pilgrim is a human.
Yep.
It cannot block Stromkirk Noble even if it finds a buddy.
But isn't it ironic, Riki, that Shrout takes 4, Noble goes up to a 5, and now Pilgrim is feeling a little frisky. That's getting in because Shrout has a Selesnya Charm at the ready to take care of the Stromkirk Noble. So, as good as Madcap's skills is here, it's actually backfiring against Johnson.
Who would have saw this coming? Yeah. I was actually wondering about the Madcap skills play because even though it gets extra damage through, he doesn't need it to get across because the Stromkirk has that can't be blocked by Human's Claws. So I thought he should have, maybe Adam should have saved it for something later on that Andrew would try to block.
The thing here is Adam has Shrout's deck list, so he knows that there are 2 Selesnya Charms in the deck. And, you know, his thought process could simply be, all right, I'm just going to build a large Stromkirk Noble and make you have Selesnya Charm to be able to beat this. You see him fingering another Madcap skills in his hand, and he's not going to cast it. He would have gotten 3 for 1 here. Instead, he just gets 2 for 1. But he did deal Shrout some damage. He did get him for 4.
That's not enough damage for 2 cards.
So now Boros Reckoner is going to show up. Shrout's going to draw a card. It's a Loxodon Smiter, so that can get in the way of that. Here is a Gavany Township, so let's see if he has any life gain elements either. Nope, just 2 big dudes.
And those 2 creatures. So Adam Johnson has the 2nd Madcap skills. He can cap up his Reckoner to make it a 6-power potential first striker.
Yeah.
And that's perfect right now against 6 power worth of blockers.
Oh, he's got Pillar Flame for the Voice Resurgence too, so this is a pretty good draw here for Johnson. Because now, as you said, he's got Madcap skills at the ready for the Boros Reckoner, and he also has Goreclan Rampager in his hand too, so this is a pretty good draw for being on the draw for Johnson, basically stealing the initiative back. And Madcap skills was a card I was a little bit surprised to see as a 4 of. You normally see Volcanic Strength more than Madcap skills. Madcap skills looks insane right now.
6/3 Boros Reckoner that has to be blocked by 2 creatures.
You don't want to poke the bear.
Give it first strike. This is Andrew needs another Selesnya Charm here real quick.
A Thragtusk will stave off things for right now, but I agree with you. We're almost getting the Selesnya Charm and Bust territory. And Madcap skills, you guys see it on the screen, is this card that is absolutely miserable to play against Unlimited. No one enjoys the Madcap skills experience when you're playing against it, maybe on an Armored Transport or anything else in Gate Crash. But right now, if this card's going to make its way into Constructed, Selesnya Charm is certainly going to be on the uptick or in summon type effects because this has to be incredibly frustrating for Shrout. Look at the cards he has in play. They're typically insane against red in Thragtusk and Smiter, and they're doing basically nothing now.
But that Boros Reckoner only has 6 power here, and Andrew throws, well, he's thinking about it. He can throw 7 toughness in front of that Boros Reckoner.
He can also throw 9 power in front of that Boros Reckoner and take 9 right in the face.
That's a problem too. But what's his alternative? Just take 6 flat out?
Well, I don't think that's good.
I think you have to try to trade with it here.
I think it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
At the very least, if Adam Johnson does not have a follow-up burn spell, Adam may be forced to use the Reckoner trigger to finish off the 2nd blocker rather than go to the dome. He probably wants to go to the dome with that. And Shrout now is kind of going to calculate, can I afford to just take that much damage?
Yeah, the other thing too is that we know Johnson has a Goreclan Rampager in his hand, so we're looking at that Reckoner moving up to 10 power.
Oh.
And now he's gonna double block here. So I did not see this coming.
So that's out of respect for the Rampager.
Yeah, that's definitely what that is. So this is a very interesting block.
So now he's saying if you want to use that Rampager, you have to use it on this Burning Tree Emissary to trade with one of my creatures. And that's not what Adam wants to be doing. He
Yeah,
wants to
not
be
at
using
all.
it to get damage across.
This is a really interesting play here by Shrout.
I think you just let that thing die. It wasn't going to do much anyway, the Burning Tree Emissary. Yeah, there you go. Just let that die. Deal your 6 to Shrout. Yeah, and pass the turn.
The one thing I think that happens though there, Riki, is I think Shrout picks up on some information with how long Johnson thought about that block. You know, like, it kind of gives away, I think, that he does have a Rampager in his hand.
And knowing that, he can now play around it. Well, you
Try-
can't play
I mean,
around
to
it,
the best
but,
of his ability, yeah.
You can play knowing that. You cannot put yourself in a position where you just auto-lose to the Blood Rush.
So Shrout is going to play his breeding pool and play lots of Smiter.
Another Smiter.
Now I think he's asking himself, all right, can I afford to get aggressive? Because, again, while his creatures aren't particularly great at blocking right now, I mean, that's 9 power.
Yeah. 9 power, and he's got 2 creatures back on defense to block the mad-capped Boros Reckoner. 9 power can take Adam down to 10. And then if all Adam does is attack back, he can Gore Clan Rampager up to 10 power, and he has 5. And the math here is getting...
So the math here is kind of interesting. So what's going to happen here is Johnson's going to attack with Boros Reckoner. This is a 6. This is a 6. Rampager makes it into a 10 power guy. 10 minus 5 for trample is 5. So 5 damage gets through, puts Shrout down to 4. But
5 damage being
5
dealt
damage
to the Reckoner.
being dealt to the Reckoner makes it so that it's 10. So this is a very confident attack from Johnson because nothing can really go wrong here for him. As Shrout is empty-handed, he has to double block unless Johnson overthinks this, and there's your Gore Clan Rampager being blood rushed. He's gonna pick it up. So this is the one thing that we were wondering if it would happen, if Adam Johnson could steal the game when he's on the draw, and he has done that.
Oh boy! So now, Andrew Shrout, we both picked him, but now he has to win 2 in a row.
Yes, and we are going to cut back to the booth for you guys really quickly because we are going to go over the sideboard and all that good stuff in just a moment. But it is trivia time, my friend.
Trivia time.
It is trivia time. So it's time to give away 3 months trivia. Of course, in our semifinals tomorrow morning, we'll give away 6, and in our finals, we'll give away 12. But we got just a little baby giveaway right now. So how you play trivia with us, if it's your first time joining us, we thank you, of course. As I'm going to ask you a question, we're going to ask you to hashtag your answer on the old Twitter sphere with the hashtag of SCG Premium. So I'm going to ask you a kind of a softie to get things underway here in Columbus. And again, hashtag your answer SCG Premium. We will select from one person who does get the answer right. So it is about accuracy, not about speed. And we will announce the winner after our quarterfinals are complete. So, the question is, within Andrew Shrout's deck list, he has 5 Planeswalkers, 3 of one, Garruk Relentless, 2 of another. If you're able to name that 2 of Planeswalker in his deck, which ended up seeing a lot of block play at Pro Tour Dragon's Maze, actually in Shrout's top 8 deck at Pro Tour Dragon's Maze, if you're able to name that 2 of Planeswalker, tweet your answer with the hashtag SCG Premium. Again, we will select one winner of the people who do get it correct, so it is about accuracy, not about speed, and we will announce that winner as soon as our quarterfinals is over.
Okay.
Pretty easy?
Yeah, pretty easy.
All right.
I think you gave away possibly too many clues there.
I like to make the first one pretty simple.
Okay.
I feel like one weekend we're just going to ask 3 insanely hard questions so that we just don't give away premium.
It's like, what is Cedric Phillips' favorite cereal?
Yes, the answer is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Most people actually know that, but
okay then.
But we could ask even a more difficult one. So, did you know they made peanut butter crunch? By the way,
no.
There's no way that can be good.
No, that does not sound good.
That's another conversation for another time, or you can tweet me your thoughts on peanut butter crunch. But we are going to go over the sideboards here for you guys. Adam Johnson won the game, so we're going to go over Shrouts first. And what we thought was already a pretty tough matchup for Adam Johnson is only going to get more difficult because Shrout has 3 Unflinching Courage, 2 Detention Spheres, 2 Supreme Verdicts, an additional Celestia Charm to blow out Madcap skills, and then he's got other cards which I don't think are going to be very useful. And Garrett Primal Hunter, Syncopate actually pretty good on the play, worse on the draw, Clone and Silklash Spider. So he has cards that are actually going to improve what we felt was already a pretty good matchup.
And he can take out all the cards that are clunky, slow, 5, 6, 7 drops.
Prime Speaker, gone. Aetherling, Angel Serenity, gone and gone. Lower his curve, play a lot more high-impact spells. I mean, I certainly thought this matchup was in his favor, and we hadn't even analyzed the sideboard yet. But, I mean, I don't want to call a match or anything or throw in the towel, especially when Johnson's up a game. But things are only getting more difficult for him, right?
Well, maybe. We'll see. Adam Johnson in his sideboard, he's got access to 4 Skull Cracks, which is certainly a standby when you're going up against Thragtusks. 3 Mizium Mortars. Maybe want to bring those in. Those Loxodon Spiders are very big bodies.
Yep.
3 Volcanic Strengths. Don't need that here. No mountains. 2 Electrickery. Not very useful. I mean, you could take out a couple of Mana Dorks, but by that point, they've probably done their work. 1 Forest, which is interesting. He can bring in a Forest to help himself out because he does have 2 Gruul War Chants.
Yep.
That Forest is most likely there when he brings in the extra green cards.
And I kind of like Gruul War Chant as a card because, I mean, we just saw how difficult it was for Shrout to actually be able to block his Madcap Skills creatures. And War Chant is basically Madcap Skills number 5 and number 6 to an extent. And it gives this red deck kind of a unique angle of attack that most hyper-aggressive strategies, like this deck, don't often have. So I'm kind of interested to see if we're going to see that come in, especially when he's on the draw. It seems like it's kind of slow on the draw, but maybe if we do see a third game, maybe he boards that in for game number 3 to try to give the beatdowns.
Yeah, I like this Gruul War Chant here. I hope he brings them in. It seems like what you want to be doing because it just messes up people's blocking method, especially if there's a situation where you're holding it in your hand, you have a couple of creatures, and Andrew does not leave a critical number of blockers back. You can just drop that War Chant and suddenly everything has to be double blocked.
Yeah. The other fun thing too is now, Shrout can, if you're Johnson, one of the things that's nice about Shrout having your deck list is that he can actually see that you have Gruul War Chant. Now he can kind of outthink himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, now he knows that you may be boarding that card in, maybe not for this game, but maybe for the next one. And so now, Shrout might play too defensively.
Too conservatively,
yeah. And allow Johnson to actually have some more outs, be able to draw some more cards that are actually relevant, maybe draw that game-winning Pillar of Flame or Searing Spear, or Gore Clan Rampager or Hell Rider, where, Shrout should have just been attacking in the first place, and by knowing he has Gruul War Chant somewhere in the 75, he plays too conservatively, gives Johnson too many extra turns, and ends up losing because of it. Again, not something that is likely to happen, but it's something that can occur.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss. If you don't know what your opponent has, you don't accidentally play around it.
Yeah. So, that's going to be interesting to see how that ends up happening here. And all this standard action, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we're going to see even more standard action when we go to Miami in 2 weeks. The Grand Prix down there, I know we're in a limited run of Grand Prix right now, but a ton of standard action here and we're both in Miami, and we're both going to be there. I'm going to be in the booth with Patrick Sullivan and Osip Levidovic. You're going to be.
That's a hell of a lineup in the booth. I wish I could be there watching you guys just the whole time.
Put a little earphone in.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
We'll keep it between you, me, and all the people who are watching right now. That's all.
Yeah, all several thousand of them.
Yeah, that's all. You guys keep a secret at home. We won't tell the powers that be at Star City.
Don't tell.
Ricky will be listening to the cast in his ear while he's what are you? You're not floor judging.
We have not selected, we have not divvied up the roles yet, but in some capacity, either scorekeeping the main event or possibly scorekeeping side events, or possibly in a capacity as like a judge manager, making sure the judges are well taken care of. Because for a Grand Prix, that is very important. Those judges are there for a long, long day. We want to make sure that they're healthy and they're happy.
All right. A little H&H. And perhaps while we're in Miami, a little R&R. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Johnson, Shrout, shuffling up here. We've got a result for you. It was a quickie, and I can't say I'm terribly surprised in this one. Your number 1 seed, Steven Durham, playing Bant Hexproof against Black-Green Zombies, a deck that does not block very well. We went over Minier's sideboard. He did not have very many options to be able to deal with a hexproofed up creature with a bunch of enchantments. He had 2 Devour Flesh and 2 Golgari Charm. Doesn't sound like he drew any of them, certainly on time. Steven Durham does win the match 2-0 in Well, I mean, we might be under. We're about 15 minutes. He won that match. Not too surprising there. Good run for Adam Minier, but Stephen Durham will be coming back tomorrow morning with a little Ban Hexproof, but with a little spice and a Johnny Color of the Pride.
Yeah, maybe we want to start with that one tomorrow, or
I mean, it'll be quick. If we want to get breakfast,
it'll be quick, and then we can switch to the other match.
We can get breakfast if we want.
I really want to see that deck. I want to see a Johnny in play.
We have a quick update as well. Burroughs Kelso, they're still in game one. No word on the last match just yet, but unsurprisingly, Junk Reanimator taking a little while. That's why we made it our backup match, so we had something to cut to for you guys this evening, instead of what is going to be apparently the quickness here between Shrout and Johnson.
And I'm surprised that we don't have any word on the other match yet. The Naya Blitz versus John. Maybe they just finished and we don't know it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, players are looking at their opening hands, or at least Andrew is looking at his opening hands, and Adam picks up as well. So, Andrew Shrout loses game one when we thought he had the advantage here. How will he come out in game two?
I mean, he has streamlined his deck now. As you see a turn one Rakdos Cackler here from Johnson, he has streamlined his deck in such a way where he almost has no bad draws. Like, yes, he can flood out and all that stuff, but all of his cards are so good and so high impact, like this one against the red deck in Voice of Resurgence, that it demands Johnson to have a Pillar Flame to deal with it. That's the thing that makes things really difficult for the red deck here, is that, you know, if you deal with the Voice Resurgence, okay, well, now you got to deal with like a Loxodon Smite. You deal with the Smiter, fine, you got to deal with the Thragtusk. It just gets worse and worse and worse as the game goes along.
Yeah, and Adam Johnson needs one of those effects we're talking about, the Goblin War Drum effects, I call them, Madcap Skills and Gruul War Chant, to circumvent these troublesome blockers. So does he have it? He's going to play a second mountain here.
Well, here's the thing. Last game he was pretty quick when he had it. You know, Pillar Flame, that Voice Resurgence last game pretty fast. There's some other things. He was pretty hasty when he had the answer that he needed. This game he is operating at a much slower pace, which leads me to believe that Voice of Resurgence is proving to be rather difficult for him right now.
He pulled back the mountain there. Are they possibly discussing whether he had actually played it or not? Because we see he has a Stomping Ground. So if he's got maybe a Gore Clan Rampager there, maybe he's going to think about playing the Stomping Ground instead, so he can Blood Rush his Cackler. But no, he just... Okay, he can play the Burning Tree Emissary and get his green mana that way, but he doesn't need it. He has Searing Spear as a follow-up.
I think if you're Shrout, you're pretty pleased with this. You know, he takes care of one half of Voice of Resurgence, but I have a 1/1. If I have another creature, it's going to make it a 2/2. So I think that, you know, he's probably pretty pleased with this. You just see the die representing that it's a 1/1, and Shrout draws an Avacyn's Pilgrim for the turn.
Especially if his follow-up here is something like a Loxodon Smiter.
Yeah. Gonna play a Gavney Township, and
2-drop is another voice? No, just Farseek.
So he's gonna accelerate a little bit. Now, one card that you see in Shroud's hand, he's got a couple of lands, he's got an Avacyn's Pilgrim, and he has a Sphinx's Revelation. So his game plan is kind of crafted around Sphinx's Revelation being a relevant card right now.
Yeah, but you gotta watch out. Adam Johnson does have access to 4 Skull Cracks out of the sideboard to mess with that life gain math.
So Shroud searches up the Hollow Fountain. Again, his hand for you guys at home is 2 copies of Breeding Pool, the Avacyn Pilgrim that he just played, and a Sphinx's Revelation. So he doesn't have a Smiter, an Unflinching Courage, or a Thragtusk just yet, but you do draw a card every turn in this wonderful game that we play.
And that's going to make that Elemental a 2/2 now. Big enough to trade with either of Adam Johnson's creatures.
Johnson plays his Greenland untapped, representing Gore Clan Rampager, and I think
Crash in.
I think Shroud is kind of thinking to himself, well, I mean, if you have it, you have it, but I'm gonna try. And if he's so
he's got it.
Have it.
So 4 damage is going to trample over, plus 2 from the Cackler. That's 6, and he gets rid of that Elemental token.
And now you see Johnson. He was very quick to play Rakdos Cackler, but he also has a Strongkirk Noble in his hand. So he is actually going to go with the Cackler and pass the turn back. And I mean, think about the draws that Shroud has access to right now. We're looking at Thragtusk, Loxodon Smiter, maybe another Voice of Resurgence, Supreme Verdict.
Supreme Verdict is...
Detention Sphere.
Oh, Detention Sphere on Rakdos Cacklers. When have you ever seen that happen?
Can't be too proud.
got to deal with what you got to deal with.
All right. Shrout's going to draw a card. What do we got? It's a Garrick Relentless. So how good is that right now?
Not quite good enough yet, I think.
That's going to come up with that. I think he's just going to pump out a wolf token, probably.
Yeah, you pump out a wolf.
Fighting seems like pretty poor, I think. You know,
right, because this way the wolf can just block one of the 2/2s.
Yeah, the question, right, is do you want to kill a guy with Garrick and flip it into Veil Cursed? Or do you want to have the wolf try to kill the guy? And then if the wolf gets pillar flipped, then you didn't actually accomplish anything.
Yeah, that's true as well.
That's like the really tough question is because your entire goal with this Garrick Relentless is to kill a creature.
Yeah. But
how do you want to go about killing said creature? That's the tough part because, you know, let's say that Johnson has a Hell Rider, which I think he has.
Oh.
This really messes up everything
Hell
now.
Rider. Yeah, because now he can just ping the Garrick with 3 of the Hell Rider triggers.
If he even cares about Garrick, he might just be more content just saying, I'll live it upstairs, my friend. Put
4
you
damage,
to 8?
put you to 8, and then a whole bunch of lethal coming at him? Sure, yeah. He's going to think about it right here. And he should think about it.
If I think of Adam Johnson, I don't even think I care about that Garrick. Like, I'm either pinging it for 3 or I'm not pinging it at all. That's the first thing. But then it's just like, why do I even care about your Garrick Relentless? My attack right now, my 4 triggers are going to put you down to 8. You don't really have great blocks because let's say that Shrout just puts his wolf token in front of like a cackler. He ends up taking 7 going down to 1. I'm pretty happy if my opponent's at 1.
So he's declared his attack. Presumably there are Hell Rider triggers.
I would hope so.
I would hope so too. I mean, those are not triggers you want to forget.
Yes.
And it does seem like he is thinking about what to do with them. He's putting his fingers out there. Put your 4. Just put your 4 fingers and point them at Andrew. Take 4. Like a jab.
Like a thrust. Thank you, man. I can see the temptation for wanting to take care of that Garrick. You get so much value because your Hell Rider takes care of it and all your guys are still coming across.
But this is the discipline of aggro players. You have to figure out when it's time to forget about everything that's going on, throw away your creatures, and all you want to do is deal damage to your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've made attacks where my creatures just basically chump attacked, but I wanted to get that damage through. And he chooses to deal the 3 to the Garrick and then 1 to Andrew, and now Andrew's got to deal with the creatures as follow-up.
Now you see Shrout. He puts his 2 creatures together. It looks like he might see a double block here on the Hell Rider. Because that's the most important thing on the table.
Because that's going to represent another, 3 or 4 damage worth of triggers next turn. Take that out. Go down to 5. It's a very precarious position.
Man, another bad draw from Shrout. He draws another Farseek to go along with the breeding pool and the Sphinx's Revelation. So now if you're Shrout, can you afford to go down to 3? Revelate for 2, puts him up to 7. Ugh. Hit 1, hit 2, draws another Revelation. Johnson's going to quickly untap. He's going to draw a card. That's a Skull Crack, and that's the match. Adam Johnson takes it down, doesn't just take it down, takes it down 2-0 over Andrew Shrout.
That was a very good match. That was, I mean, we were thinking about that Garrick play, but in the end, he got it. He had that Skull Crack. He had extra damage in his hand. That's what his deck is. It's just damage, damage, damage.
Wow. I mean, we're looking at a deck that has 4 Voice of Resurgence, 3 Loxodon on Smiter, 3 Restoration Angel, 4 Thragtusk, Farseek to Accelerate, can sideboard in Unflinching Courage, Detention Sphere, Supreme Verdict. Shrout had basically none of those. They had nothing go right, it feels like, in these 2 games, and is dispatched very quickly by young Adam Johnson. And he will be the one playing tomorrow, not the Pro Tour top 8 competitor, not the player who's won multiple Opens and top 8 at a handful of them, the youngster.
You know what's really underrated there is that Adam Johnson led both games with a 1-drop.
Yep.
Right? He had the Stromkirk Noble on turn 1 in game 1.